Well, Derek Frost joins us now. It's good to see you this morning. Look, it's a sin brought back to a lot of people and showed an awful lot of people for the first time just what a horrific time actually the 80s were for so many people. Why did you want to put this down in a book?
Yeah, I mean, to correct you in a way, the 90s were also a horrific time because effective medication didn't become available until 97. And so to answer your question, this is a very important piece of history. And we found ourselves right in the very middle of it. An important history because 35 odd million people have died of AIDS. And it's still a huge problem. In 2019, 600,000 or 700,000 people died of AIDS. So there's a lot of talk about the current pandemic, and some people are calling AIDS the forgotten pandemic. And I thought it was very important to set down the experiences I'd had and several quite different experiences within the AIDS pandemic as an important record for the benefit of all, but particularly for the benefit of young people who may only think of AIDS as an easily treatable condition like, other things, pop the pills and you'll be fine, which is great,
Well, it's great in a sense, but I mean, it does take away a little bit from the experiences that so many people have been through, a time of, I guess, of sort of innocence turning into absolute tragedy for so many.
Yeah, I mean, it was the ultimate Greek tragedy, really, because, queer people were coming out of the illegality, homosexuality had been made legal. There was this huge sort of celebration that followed that. A similar celebration, really, that happened for straight people in the 60s with the advent of the pill, etc. So, the tail end, or right in the middle of this extraordinary celebration, AIDS came and hit, and, this was a great tragedy. And as you'll know, in the early days of the pandemic, I mean, when it was first described, it was described as the gay plague. It was what gay people got, as was, mentioned in It's a Sin. It was a big tragedy, and it was a very, very bad time for a lot of people. I mean, It's a Sin describes some of the really ghastly things that happened in the early 80s, where there was extraordinary sort of fear, as you're showing now, the tombstone ads, et cetera. By the time my husband, Jay, became infected in 91, and this was in England, although there were large levels of stigma, the response we received from medical staff and the support we received from the NHS, et cetera, was fantastic. The big problem they had is they didn't have any drugs to treat people like Jeremy, and all they could say to him was, kind of bottom line, prepare to die. It was a hard time, and a lot of people died. I mean, in my book, 70 close friends are named and listed, and the book is written as a dedication to them.
I mean, I think that is part of the horror that people forget, I think, when you do talk to people of your generation who were, younger men of that time. And it was a case, wasn't it, that almost everybody lost somebody they knew.
Oh, my goodness, yes. I mean, amongst the queer community, large numbers of people. I mean, we had friends in America, particularly on the west coast of America, who described losing 80 or 90% of their entire base of friends. I mean, it's unbelievable. It was like a slaughter, But it was a slaughter in which the queer community played a very, very important part, which is another aspect of the history which I wanted to remember, is that, between 81 and 89, when Reagan was president, he never mentioned the word AIDS publicly until about 85, 86, during which time a huge number of particularly gay Americans had died of AIDS or had become infected, I think as many as 1.5 million or so, until finally he mentioned the word. gay people got very angry about this. They formed ACT UP, and there was a huge activist movement that speeded the arrival of effective medication by demanding it. And the success of that activism probably saved, many, many millions of lives around the world by speeding the arrival of medication. So we have something, within the queer community, we have something also to be very proud of, which is important to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Derek, it's good to talk to you this morning. Thanks very much indeed.